New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Good evening, and welcome to the Miracle of Prosperity here on the New Thought Media Network. I'm your host, Reverend Jim Webb. I'm the author of the book, The Soul of Prosperity, as well as several ebooks that are supplements to The Soul of Prosperity. These ebooks include Prosperity from A to Z, Create Your Self-Manifesting Vision Board, 30 P's to Prosperity, and my most recent book, Forgive Your Way to Prosperity. So it's an honor to be here and to support you tonight. Every Sunday evening here, we look at prosperity from different angles. We look at prosperity broadly as more than just money and stuff. We look at prosperity from the perspective of spiritual prosperity, a deep inner peace that passes all understanding, and a blessed assurance that gives us confidence and encourages us. We also look at prosperity in terms of professional prosperity, where, in the words of Florence Scovel Shen, we have a wonderful job with wonderful pay, where we provide a wonderful service in a wonderful way. We look at relationship prosperity, where our relationships are sources of encouragement, upliftment, and they create harmony or perpetuate harmony, as opposed to relationships that involve struggle or friction. We look at family prosperity, where our family experiences are uplifting or at least are triggers for peace. And of course, we look at logistical prosperity, where our lives work well with a minimal amount of struggle, and we have all the resources we need, including financial resources, and enough to share and enough to spare. So prosperity is all of that and more. Now, our objective every Sunday is that you interact with us. So let us know you're here, tell us hello, and we're going to delve deeper into the miracle of prosperity. I'm really thrilled tonight because one of our objectives in doing the show, The Miracle of Prosperity, is to relate the prosperity principles to aspects of A Course in Miracles, so that A Course in Miracles is more accessible to us all, and so that we can apply the principles of A Course in Miracles to our lives in practical ways. And that's why I'm especially thrilled about tonight's show, because we found a gem, not a J-I-M, I'm your J-I-M, but we found a G-E-M in the form of an author who has written a book called A Course in Miracles Clarified. I love this book because this book does exactly what it says. It clarifies A Course in Miracles so that we can all make better use of it. So I'm thrilled tonight to have with us Ray Wells, the author of the book, A Course in Miracles Clarified. Hello, Ray. Hello, Ray.
Yeah, I want to approach the course. You, excuse me, you have asked what the greatest uh, impediments are to prosperity from the viewpoint of the course, and I can break it in three words: sin,
Okay.
guilt, and fear.
Yes.
And the first one I want to look at is fear, and I want to look at the fear of God, because
Okay.
lots of religions say fear God.
Mm-hmm.
The course in lesson 282 states, "Father, your name is love, and so is mine. So such is the truth."
Yes.
And his name is love, and actually, love is a synonym for God. And
Yes.
as such, that's all he is. He
Mm-hmm.
is total love.
Yes. So, in
And
other words, if love is a synonym for God and God is love, as I think lesson 104 says, God being love is happiness. If God is love, then we need not fear love. Is that what you're saying, Ray?
that's what I'm saying. And the Course goes even further to say that what we live in, what our world, our universe, the Course state is an illusion. The only truth is God and his oneness. And as an illusion, it's impossible for God to even come into this world because he only can embrace truth. He can't embrace an illusion.
Yes. I want us to take a moment before you go forward to break that down for our viewers as well. And you can start, if you choose, by building the background of this world as a dream and therefore as an illusion, so that our viewers understand what we mean when we talk about the illusion.
Okay, I would like to embrace science first. Science says that before the Big Bang, was no matter, no physical matter at all.
Mhm.
And the age-old question is, where did the matter in the world and the universe come from then?
Mhm.
And the answer is, it didn't. My science class in high school said matter can neither be created nor destroyed. Well, if it
Yes.
can't be created, there's nothing there to be destroyed.
Okay.
And, and the reason they can't find any matter there is because, as in our dreams, we dream up a physical world, and it's
Yes.
just as real as this physical world. And
Mm-hmm.
the matter is that dream world is not physical; it's just a
Mm-hmm.
dream. And
Yes.
that dream, by the way, is the same dream as our daytime dream. There's not two dreams; it's only
Yes.
one. It goes from day to night and back to day, and neither one is physical. They're all a dream. Now,
Yes. So the
now,
basic template upon which the philosophy of the course is based then is we are all dreaming, like that one season in Dallas where where JR getting shot was just a dream. So we are in a big dream, and that is why uh, this is not a quote real world end
really,
quote. Is that what
and
you're saying?
yeah, and I can go to the beginning. What the course says is God has a son of God, and that son of God, in an idle moment, wondered what it'd be like to have his own world different in every way from heaven. And he fell asleep and dreamed it. He's still dreaming it. And in his dream, he has all these people that he's dreamed up, just as we do at night in our dreams. We dream about our father, our mother, our brothers, sisters. Also, they're not. And science will tell, psychology will tell you those people aren't those people. They're you pretending those people in your dream. And when you
Yes.
wake up, they all go back to being you like they always were. Okay,
Okay.
the Son of God dreamed it just like that. He dreamed a whole bunch of people. Turns out to be 8 billion of them,
Hmm.
and he goes back to waking up, and those people go right back to being him,
Okay.
uh, who they always were in the first place. So all of us are the Son of God pretending to be somebody else when he's really us.
Okay.
And that's why we have the same dream and we actually are the same Son of God.
Okay.
Everyone we dream up is us and the Son of God. Every person he did up dreams up is the Son of God also. And it's
Okay.
called the sonship by the Course.
Okay. Okay, that's very helpful, Ray, because what that does is it builds a template for what you are saying. This is just a dream. So the dream of sin, the dream of guilt, and the dream of separation is all just a dream. We are not separate, nor have we ever been. We are all a part of God. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. And the one big one here, and this is a big one, in your dream at night, you can dream of all kinds of horrendous happenings and
Hmm.
acts of, by yourself and anybody else. But when
Hmm.
you wake up, you say to yourself, oh my God, that was an awful dream. But you know what? It never happened.
Yes,
And you know what? This dream of the Son of God is not happening either. It's a
that's
dream. And the beauty of it is, and this is the important one, God does not hold anybody uh,
accountable.
accountable for something he only did in a meaningless dream. So
Right.
there is no reason for it. There is no sin, and there's nothing to fear from a dream. And if there is no sin, you can't have any guilt.
Yes. There is no sin, it has no consequences. I think that's like lesson 91 through 93. So let's put a bow on this segment
Okay,
by, in practical terms, we are a part of a dream. That this is why quite often in A Course in Miracles it says, this isn't happening, this doesn't happen, this hasn't happened, because
exactly.
it is a dream. And as this is a dream, there is no sin, there is no guilt, it has no consequences. Therefore, we need not live in fear or shame, nor need we live by denying or punishing ourselves or subscribing to the theory of a vengeful, punitive God from whom we are separate. Is
This
that
is
accurate?
accurate.
Okay. So
Now,
those are some of the key barriers to prosperity, is what I'm hearing you say.
right. Now, the fly in the ointment is the dreamer is not the real Son of God, it's his ego.
Hmm.
And so we all have that ego. And that
Yes.
ego is the one who dreamed of a world that's different in every way from heaven. That's
Hmm.
why this world has all the strange, terrible, terrifying weather and actions and earthquakes and all that. It's a very dangerous place to live in, but it's not a place; it's an illusion. And
Yes.
we each have that ego in us, and you know what that ego tells us? You're a sinner. You're guilty, and you're
Right.
going to be guilty,
Hmm.
and you want to feel that guilt, and you're going to
Right.
pay punishment, be punished for it. We
Yes.
don't have to, but we
Hmm.
believe the ego, and that's where we see ourselves as sinners and have the guilt, and we that guilt says you need to be punished. The chapter 13 in the course says punishment demands guilt, and that's
Right.
why we're in such a mess. And the Course says all you have to do, the other voice in your head besides the ego is the Holy Spirit that God gave you to get you out of here again.
Yes.
And if you talk to the Holy Spirit, and he shows you how to forgive and how to dismiss the ego. Once the ego's gone, you're back in heaven that you never left.
Yes, beautiful. What a wonderful way to briefly synopsize the key premise of the Course. The key premise of the Course, viewers, is that there is no sin. It has no consequence. Guilt, shame, and all of the things that the ego has used to cause us to feel unworthy of our good are an illusion. Therefore, we can feel deserving of our good without condition, like Paul Farini's book, Love Without Condition. And so the key to prosperity is understanding our innocence, not our guilt, our godship, not our egoship, and our deservingness, not our undeservingness due to guilt. So I want to thank you for building that foundation of the sinless world. And we're going to go build on that after this commercial break. And so I want you folks at home, I want you to get your questions ready. You can type them in the comments box right now. And we're going to handle some of your questions in the next segment as we discuss this further here on the New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center, Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
And we're back here on the New Thought Media Network with the Miracle of Prosperity. Once again, I'm so thrilled to have with us the author of the book, A Course in Miracles Clarified, Raymond Wells. We are so glad to have you. And as I was reading your bio, I was quite impressed because of the number of different aspects of spiritual exploration that you've covered in your life. You started working with A Course in 1985. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. And before that, I looked into virtually all the Protestant religions. I looked into Catholic religions. I even looked into a few Middle Eastern religions. And somebody said, well, you need to look at a New Age church.
Mm-hmm.
And I found one. It was in the state of Oregon, LEC, Living Enrichment Center. And they kept talking from the pulpit about A Course in Miracles.
Mm-hmm.
And so Margie and I picked up the book. We read it, and it took 3 years to read the entire 31 chapters and
Yes.
practice the 365 lessons, which we
Yes.
were only supposed to do one a day, but we did it until we understood it. So
Yes.
it took more than a year
Oh,
to
yeah.
to get through it. But the problem is with the book, if I might say, and why my book was really needed, the dictator, which of course it would dictate it over a period of 7 years,
Yes.
and he identified himself to Helen Schuckman, the stenographer, as the risen Jesus. And when you read the book, you will have no doubt that he really was. These people stuck together for 7 years to get it out, and it's 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 a book you don't just read once.
Yes.
It's like getting married. You're practicing the course for the rest of your life.
It's so true. I remember there's a passage in the Bible, eat these words. And the course is you have to take it in bite-sized chunks, digest it, and integrate it, almost like food. For example, in my church, the Tacoma Metaphysical Chapel, we do a call every morning. We've been doing it for about 15 years, where each day we do a lesson in a course and we work with the lesson, we hear the lesson, we discuss the lesson, we meditate on the lesson, we look at practical applications of the lesson, and we do this for one lesson a day. And we've been doing it for 15 years. And the amazing thing is that each time we do a lesson, we've done the lesson before, and many of the folks on the call have been on the call for 15 years. But it's like the lesson is new because we're anew. And we're continually evolving and integrating more of the course into our lives. So each time we do it, we're integrating it at a different level. So it is not a book you read like a novel on a plane and you start it when you're on the runway in Florida and you finish by the time you touch down in Boston. It's not like that. It's a way of life is how we find it. And it's a way to integrate the spiritual psychology into our practical working lives. Is that what you found, sir?
Yes, I did. And what I started to say is the reason it's so hard to understand for most people is the voice. Jesus spoke his dictation in an Elizabethan Shakespearean English, which is
Yeah.
old English. It's not spoke anymore. Has a lot of run-on sentences, long paragraphs, and words that haven't been used for a long time. And
Yes.
the accent is hard to understand. Uh,
Hmm.
so when you read it, a lot of negative sentences too. You really have to sort through the language to get
Yes.
what the meaning. And what my book does is it found I put all my information up on an Excel spreadsheet and
Yes.
sorted it according to uh, what it was talking about. And I found that there were 22 common themes that went through almost every lesson. So had the majority of the themes in it. So each lesson repeats the same thing over and over.
Yes.
There's the next lesson and all through the whole um, 365 lessons, and same way with the 31 chapters. It's saying the same thing over and over again in a very,
Yes.
very different way.
Yes, it's true. We find that in the lessons as well. We find that common theme in lessons, and for example, when we're discussing the lessons, we jokingly say, "Oh, this is another lesson where we release what we thought it was for, or
Yeah,
what we thought it meant."
yeah,
And once you have those general themes, it becomes easy to integrate it in your life too.
yeah. Now those themes became the chapter titles of my book. There's
Yes,
22 chapters talking about the theme, and then and I have pulled out quotes from all parts of the course showing how that was mentioned in every place for all
yes.
22 times.
Yes, I think it's a brilliant approach, and it really does make the course much more accessible because it creates the key ideas that we need to understand about the course. And our task is to integrate that into our lives. And one of the things that and the book is called A Course in Miracles Clarified by Raymond Wells. It's available on Amazon.com. It's available both as an ebook and as a paperback. And one of the things that I find is that the book helps us to integrate the key concepts of the course in our lives in very practical ways because it breaks it down in ways that we can understand. It breaks it down without the elliptical sentences and the sentences with inverted sentence structure. And it breaks it down in a way, in common everyday language. And that I find to be so useful. You even have a website, is that accurate?
Yes, acimclarified.com.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, in terms of the key principles of a course, if you had to choose one or two principles or one or two chapters of the book based on principles, which would you say would be very effective in releasing our unconscious blockages to prosperity?
Okay. Um, Chapter 11, as I recall, is titled Forgiveness Will Solve All Your Problems. And
Yes.
the reason forgiveness is so needed, first of all, the Course advises us there's only one way to forgive, and that is to ask the Holy Spirit to help us with the forgiveness.
Yes.
And when you start to forgive, and you have a grievance, and it turns out that everyone in this world has multiple grievances. We've been hurt,
Yes.
we've been
Yes.
assaulted, we've been stolen from, and we have to forgive all this. And the Course advises for instance, let's pretend I have a grievance against you, Jim. And the
Hmm.
Course says, say it this way: Holy Spirit, help me forgive myself and Jim for what we did not do. Now, the
Hmm.
Holy Spirit goes where we can't go. It goes to our subconscious mind, and that's where the forgiveness takes place. And without that, it's virtually impossible for anybody to forgive anybody. But
Yes.
the ringer here is, okay, I forgive myself and you for what we did not do. I am responsible for forgiving myself, and I have to do it in a way that involves you. But you have to forgive yourself as well, or it doesn't take. So it doesn't get we it doesn't give the person that did the injury. It doesn't give them off the hook just because you forgave them. You can't forgive them. They have to forgive themselves. That's the way the minds work.
Yes. And I love the way you framed it. Forgive them, forgive me, I forgive myself, and I forgive them for something that did not happen. And that builds on the platform you were discussing earlier in the show, where you talked about this world being an illusion, this world being a dream, and this world in a dream does not happen in reality.
Right.
So that helps us to take some of the sting out of it because
Okay.
our egos,
Now you
go
asked
ahead.
for two chapters to be the most important.
Yes,
The
yes.
second chapter that's important in my book is it pulled out, I think it's 33 quotes in
Hmm.
the course, all throughout the course,
Hmm.
saying that we are entirely responsible for what happens to us. We can't blame anybody else for it. And when somebody does something to us to harm us, it's because the guilt in us has reached out and asked them to do it, and they accepted the doing of
The
it.
invitation.
Yeah, and so if you feel the urge to hit somebody, they've already asked you to do it, but you don't have to do it. You don't have to take on that guilt that you're going to get if you do it. So it goes back and forth like that.
Yes. This is where a lot of people often get stuck. And I'll just kind of break it down in English from our own human
Sure,
experiences. As human egos, we get hurt. As human egos, we get injured. As human egos, we see things only from the perspective of our human egos and our hurt and our injury. And as a result of that, when somebody says, you know, you brought this on ourselves, that same human ego that is hurt and is injured wants to fly into a rage. That same human ego wants to point the finger at someone else and say, no, I didn't do this to myself. You did this to me. And we imprison ourselves in that role as victim. We imprison the other in the role of our victimizer. And this often sticks us all. Now, one of the things I try to do is say, on the level of the ego, yes, this person did it to you. But on the level of your higher selves, you came here to learn, to heal, to grow, to remember, and most importantly, you came here to wake up. And this experience is designed to wake you up. So, on
exactly.
the level of your souls, you handed them a script and said, read these words. It will wake me up.
Yep, yep.
Is that now? Can you talk to that a little bit more? Because I know so many people struggle with this. Can you talk to the how can I have done this to myself thing? Because I know so many people struggle with that.
Okay, well, go back to the fact that the course says, and it's believable when you put it all together. This is an illusion. Nothing is really happening here.
Hmm.
These people may have hurt you in your dream, but you can't hurt anybody in a dream. They're not
Hmm.
responsible for happening, and your dream did happen to yourself.
Hmm.
That's just one way of looking at it.
Hmm.
The other way of looking at it is go back to chapter 12 of my book and read all the places where it tells you no matter what goes on in your life, you were the author of it. And for instance, one I can think of, what your brother says to you depends on you. In other words, even what people say to you was what you wanted to say to them, or they wouldn't have said it. And it goes for them. And there's 33 places we put the quotes out where say, you're the one that did this. Oh, and the things that get you in trouble for once, when you blame somebody else for what happened to you, that builds up guilt within you. And when you, okay, have you heard these statements? Don't give away your power.
Yes. So, yeah, one of the things that some people find to be useful is that, personal responsibility has become a trigger word because it connotes a certain blame. And as egos, we want to blame somebody else,
Exactly.
or we want to blame ourselves. And one of the ways that one brilliant person said, stated it was, what if personal responsibility was personal power? What if you realized that you had the power to create the world you wanted instead of creating this world that brings you pain and suffering? Then wouldn't you like to seize that personal power? And that to them was a way that they could swallow this thing about reality creation and each person creating the experience necessary for their soul's growth and healing. That
Right.
was the only way they could wrap their mind around this idea. You mean I agreed to this? Now, why would a sane person agree to that? That was
Guilt.
the only way that they could wrap their mind around it was, okay, it's not responsibility, it's power, and it's taking my power back. So is that what you mean when you say taking your power back, realizing that you have the power to create what you desire instead of what you don't desire?
Yeah, exactly. And you have to involve your guilt, because wrapped up in that guilt is your grievances, and that guilt is part of you. It
Mhm.
represents you, and it goes out and finds those things that will harm you, because your guilt wants to punish you. Your guilt is all wrapped around the ego. Now, another way of looking at don't give away your power. If you get upset, lose your temper,
Mhm.
uh, worry, uh, become insulted, you your body and your mind suffers for it.
Mhm.
Now, what don't give your power away, one of the things it's talking about is
Mhm.
you don't allow anything to upset you, because the
Mhm.
minute you do,
Mhm.
you have given them the power to upset you. And that
Right.
was your power to begin with,
Right.
to not be upset. And now
Mhm.
you've given your power away.
Okay. Now, I know a lot of people have a hard time with this, so we're going to drill down on some a little more, and we're going to work with this just a little more because it's such a key to allowing prosperity. What I want to drill down on is the very common response that says, well, wait a minute. What you're talking about sounds like blaming the victim and making the victim wrong. And so, if I hear you correctly, just to understand this, there is no victim. This is a dream. This is not real. From the perspective of our ego and the physical container that we have that holds a lot of pain, and our physical hurt locker, that locker with all the pain in it, it feels kind of real to me. But when you look at it from that higher perspective, from the perspective of your eternal self, your eternal soul, your eternal energy, and the part of you that is God, and when you have an, a great deal of experience seeing the world and being that part of you that is God, then it's easier to take a different perspective on this. Is that one of the ways that we can move out of the victim consciousness by taking that and experiencing that higher consciousness where we can see this a little bit more objectively?
That helps, yeah. And
Mhm.
the 30 quotes from the course that are in chapter 12 shows how you are entirely, well, put it different. Like, you can only victimize yourself. You can't
Yes.
victimize anybody else.
Only my thoughts injure me.
Right. Exactly.
Yes. And so and I'm going to play advocate here. I learned that word from our producer Michael a couple weeks ago. I'm going to play the blanks advocate here, and I'm going to say only my thoughts injure me. No, 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 because I don't think that. But if I hear you correctly, when we work with that, it is the unconscious thoughts that can also cause us injury. And so many times, what we see in our outer world is a reflection of unconscious thoughts that we don't even realize that we have. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. And uh, I'm trying to think of the word. Um, your guilt harbors itself in the unconscious. And
Yes.
it works from there, seeing to you that you do things to yourself that punish you.
Uh-huh.
And that's the way it works.
Yes. Okay.
It-
So let's work with that again because I really want us to have a deeper understanding of this, and you are the perfect person for this. And so I so
okay.
appreciate you being here tonight. Um, our guilt resides in our unconscious, kind of like that shark in Jaws, down under the surface. And every once in a while, we hear the music, bum 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 bum, and we know it's there. And then it strikes, and it's like, who did that? What did that? And it was the shark of guilt. So I want to work with that a little bit. And the reason that I want to work with that a little bit is because as Carl Jung said, you must understand the unconscious because until you understand the unconscious will be made manifest and you will call it fate. And so we have to understand that there is so much in our unconscious mind, so much in our unconscious conditioning, in our unconscious miseducation that shows up in our world. And the purpose for it showing up in our world is so that we can heal it. Would that be accurate, first of all?
That, that would be accurate. There's a
And
possibility
so, what are
to add.
what are some things that we can do using, and this is the part of the course that I absolutely love. When I read the course, I feel Jesus. I feel healing. I feel transformation. I feel grace. How can we apply that energy of grace to those parts of us that are wounded? And how can we apply that energy of grace to those unconscious energies that live within us? Any suggestions on that?
Well, the Holy Spirit is the best way you engage Him, ask Him for help and
Mm-hmm.
forgiving, and also you ask Him for direction, and
Mm-hmm.
He goes right to that unconscious. The ego, by the way, that's where the ego survives, is in the unconscious, and
Yes.
that's why you can't really deal with the ego directly because he's part of you, and it's not in your conscious; it's in your unconscious.
Right. So in other words, so much of what we see and so many of the reasons that we have such difficulty with this is because from the perspective of our ego, this is almost an assault. How dare you call me a victim? How dare you blame me as the victim? How dare you say
Yeah,
that I did this to myself? That's the ego. And we and so you're saying, if I hear you correctly, you're saying, ask the Holy Spirit to do what you cannot do for yourself.
that's right. That's
Okay.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about that a little bit more and invoking the Holy Spirit and having the Holy Spirit work on that part of us that is ego. Can you talk about that a little more?
Sure. I would like to say one more thing, and doesn't come from the course directly. This is what psychologists have come up with,
Mhm.
analyzing people's behaviors. 82% of what you do going through the day came from your unconscious.
Yes.
Your conscious mind makes very few decisions. Your
Hmm.
unconscious mind makes most of them. And as far as talking about applying it, um, you apply it when in ways that you can, in addition to talking to the Holy Spirit, you catch yourself when you want to blame somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You catch yourself when you feel the need to get angry
Mm-hmm.
because you're the one that suffers from that anger. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you catch yourself when you don't want to apologize to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You catch yourself um, when you think, actually, you think about doing harm to somebody, or
Mm-hmm.
even when you're idly thinking about things you mother and your father told you you shouldn't think about those things, especially ones of a sexual nature. And
Yeah.
but um, and the best way really to work with this is what you've been doing. You've been reading the text. You've been doing the lessons. All this comes through a little bit at a time. And
Yes.
we Margie, that's my wife, and I have been with this
Mhm.
course now 35 years, and we're still learning from it.
We'll all be learning from it for quite a while. Now, I want to go back to something you said just to help us understand this. You said that 82% of what we do is unconscious. And that makes sense when you think about all the things we do without thinking about it. We breathe without thinking about it, right? We swallow without thinking about it, right? We
Right?
blink our eyes without thinking about it, right? All of those things, those autonomic responses are so much a part of us that we don't even think about it because that gives us a chance to focus our attention on those things that are most important.
Sure. Well, it's like
So,
driving a car. You don't think about it.
yes,
You do it.
exactly. How did I get home? I don't remember getting home.
Exactly.
I was listening to Earth, Wind and Fire on the radio. How did
Yeah.
I get here? So, when we look at it from that perspective, we then understand what a huge part our unconscious mind plays. And we also then understand how, when we go into prayer, meditation, contemplation, silence, and introspection, we can begin to examine that unconscious mind. Now, I want to make a point here that kind of elaborates on something that you said. The ego would rather go out and blame somebody, be mad. The ego, instead of going in, and because the ego would like to stay in that role of victim and victimizer as opposed to healing us of that energy. So, one of the things we can do, if I hear you correctly, is we can go in. What is the unconscious attack thought here? What is the unconscious belief? What is the belief in my sin? And let's examine sin as not just you have sinned before God, but anything, any place where we believe we have not met a false standard of perfection. Where am I feeling inadequate? Where am I feeling unloved? Where am I feeling unlovable? And when we find those unconscious places, we can direct the light, the love, and the grace of the Holy Spirit to those places. Is that what I'm hearing you say as an effective way to address this?
That's one of them.
Mm,
Another one is
okay.
repetition. When
Yes,
you memorize a song or memorize a poem,
yes,
you have to recite it at least 7 times, and
yes,
then it goes into your unconscious.
yes,
You can remember songs or poems that you learned years ago. They're still
yes.
there, right there in the subconscious. And one well, thing I wanted to tell you how it hit me the other day.
Mm-hmm,
I had a hot cup of coffee in my hand, just poured
mm-hmm,
it whole, and my wife reached for the box of Kleenex next to me, and it slid off the couch. And immediately I was going to catch that box of Kleenex, forgot the coffee was in my hand,
mm-hmm.
and you can happen to know what happened next.
So
I
you know what
was
happens next.
had hot coffee all over my leg, but
Uh-huh.
that was an unconscious act. You just do
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So we have had so much discussion on this. We're going to have you back, and we're going to discuss the consciousness of victimhood, healing the consciousness of victimhood, and healing the pain of victimhood, because these are some of the things that are showing up in our comments tonight. And this is a tough one. This is a tough one for so many of us because the pain runs so deep. The outpicturing of the pain is so pervasive, and so the dream seems to be so real. And that makes it a challenge.
Oh, absolutely. Well, this world seems real. I've
Right.
had people say, "See this desk? That's
It's got to
solid."
be real.
But,
Yes.
but when you can do the same thing in your own dream at night, and it'll seem to be real too.
You know what
It's,
made me realize that? My first apartment after college, and when I had one of those terracotta plant things on the ground without anything to catch the water. And I assumed it was solid, and I kept watering it for a year. And when I didn't get my security deposit back, I realized that wasn't solid. There was this big brown stain on the floor, and they used my security deposit to replace the wooden floor. It wasn't solid, even though it seemed to be.
yeah.
So we have so much more to cover. I promise you, Vivian, I promise you, Reverend Amina, and I'll send emails specifically to you. We're going to do another segment soon called Healing the Consciousness of Victimhood and Defying the Dream for and awakening from the dream. And that's when we're going to zero in on the deep pain of our egos and how we can extricate ourselves from that
Okay.
in order to release ourselves from the consciousness of victimhood. So we're going to go to commercial break right now. Then we're going to have some summary statements and some other surprises here on the New Thought Media Network.
Okay.
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
And we're back here on the Miracle of Prosperity. I'm so glad to have tonight Raymond Wells, author of the book, A Course in Miracles Clarified. The book takes the very abstract and sometimes seemingly unworkable principles of A Course in Miracles and helps us to begin to apply them to our daily lives in ways that are practical. It takes the esoteric and it explains it in ways that make it accessible. Now, one of the things that we worked with this evening was the idea of this world as a world of illusion. Now, for some of us, that may seem far-fetched because this world seems to be solid. However, that is a perspective that we can appreciate more as we continually commune with God's Spirit, the higher power, through meditation, through prayer, through union, through contemplation, and through introspection that enables us to transcend our bodies, egos, eyes, and mind. And that spiritual practice gradually helps us to lift ourselves out of this consciousness. And we're going to explore that further because we're going to have a subsequent show on healing victimhood for prosperity. And I would like to offer you an advance invitation back for that show, Ray. But for now, I want to thank you for shedding light on this, and I appreciate your being here. Is there anything you want to say to our viewers in summary?
Yes. The reason that prosperity is eluding you is because your guilt is denying it to you. So getting rid of the guilt is primary to being able to be prosperous. At the same time, getting rid of the guilt is what the Course tells you you have to do to wake up from the dream and be back in heaven. So you get a twofer here.
Twofer. I love that. Yes, yes. So releasing guilt, releasing any feeling within you that you are not enough, that there is not enough, that there is something wrong with you, that you do not deserve your good, that you are not created at one with God as love created you, that you are not lovable, loving, or love-able. And anything showing up in your outer world is a reflection of those thoughts in order to awaken you from the dream that those thoughts have produced. So I want to thank you, Ray. So what else are you working on these days?
Well, I work on promoting my book, and
Yes.
My wife and I live in a retirement home now, and we attend lots of events, and I talk to people about the Course, and also attend the fun things that they have for us to do. Just taking life easier. But
Wonderful. That's where you met our Reverend Jane Batt and how she gifted us with you. And we're so happy about that. So thank you so much for being
okay,
with us tonight.
I'm looking forward to coming back.
Yes, we would look forward to it. And in the meantime, I want you all to check out my book, Forgive Your Way to Prosperity. And you can see, I know that some of you want to watch this program again and others of this series. So you can check that out on my YouTube page, Rev Jim Webb. Just do it at youtube.com at Rev Jim Webb. This show will live there forever because there's so much in it that I know you want to go back and watch it again. And so in the meantime, I want to thank our producer, Michael Mangus. I want to thank you again, Raymond Wells, author of the book, A Course in Miracles Clarified. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening here on the New Thought Media Network.
Thank you, Jim.
Absolutely.
Bye.